Hey, everybody, guess what? Big news on the weed front. Are you a weed smoker? Well, Illinois became the 11th state to legalize marijuana. Look at that. 11. I didn't know there were that many. Here they are. Here's the dark green is where it's legal, and in the light green is where it's decriminalized. Look at the West Coast. The West Coast, of course, leads the way. California, Oregon, Washington, all legal. And then we got some legalization in Colorado. And then Illinois, look, and Michigan. That's Michigan. I'm going to guess this is Maine over here. And then what is this? Is this Massachusetts or something? And Vermont. They legalized it. Those are tiny states. They shouldn't even be allowed to be states. Do you see how tiny they are? Massachusetts is a state. You get 2 senators from that thing.
They get as many senators as the state of California.
Yep.
Look at that.
That little sliver of a state, this gets just as many senators as this state. That makes sense.
It's a great system.
It's a super horrible system, which is why we don't live in a democracy anyway. So there's all the states where it's decriminalized and legalized. And so he says, I'm going to show you a video of the governor in just a second, the Governor Pritzker who signed it. And he claims they're the first state in the nation to fully legalize adult use. I don't know if that's the correct verbiage. But what's different with what Illinois is doing is their tax on the weed, on the marijuana, 25% of the marijuana sales tax revenue and other fees will be used to create a Restore, Reinvest, and Renew program that will award grants to help revitalize and address violence in communities affected by the war on drugs. So that's nice. So we're going to use some of the money that they make off the sale of marijuana to invest it back in the community to help those people, instead of what we've been doing now, taking sales tax from alcohol, giving it to the cops, and then telling them to go bust people for smoking pot. That's what we've been doing. So now we're going to actually sell the pot, take that tax, and then use that money to help the people instead of incarcerate the people. It's a crazy idea. It just might work. This legislation they're also going to clear the cannabis-related, so they're going to expunge the records. It's called automatic expungement. Automatic expungement. What is that? Well, expungement, it's also called expunction, but that's...
Watch your mouth.
Sounds horrible, right? Sounds like there's pus involved. But expungement is a court-ordered process in which the legal record of an arrest or a criminal conviction is sealed or erased in the eyes of the law. It also means that nearly 800,000 people with criminal records for purchasing or possessing 30 grams of marijuana or less may have those records expunged. So that's from Fox News. They're telling us that 800,000 people. So 30 grams or less. So I think that they put those limits on it because they want to, if you're doing it for personal use, that's okay. They still want to stick it to the guys who are dealing, right? That's what that sounds like. Yeah, and that the taxation on the marijuana, guess what? Guess how much they estimate it will generate? $1 billion a year, from $800 to $1 billion. Wow, that's a lot of taxes. You could use that money to help people a lot. A super real lot. I bet you could use that money to give people jobs. Do you want? So here's the Jay Pritzker. Or J.B. Pritzker. That's his name, right? He's the governor of Illinois. And you want to hear a little bit what he had to say? Here's what he had to say.
Past 50 years, the war on cannabis has destroyed families, filled prisons with nonviolent offenders, and disproportionately disrupted black and brown communities. Each year, law enforcement across the nation has spent billions of dollars to enforce the criminalization of cannabis, despite all the research and evidence that it's safer than alcohol. Yet its consumption remains widespread. It's also consumed equally across racial lines.
So when he said, its consumption is widespread, what that means is all the billions of dollars they spend on fighting this is worthless. It doesn't actually help the society. It actually just hurts the society because it hasn't made a dent in people's consumption of it one bit. And by the way, the consumption of it doesn't hurt our society at all either. So we're just creating a problem by criminalizing marijuana. That's basically what he said there. Now he's going to show you that when we do criminalize something, we do it in a racist way. How? Well, watch this.
Studies have shown time and time again that black and white people tend to use cannabis at the same rates, but black people are far more likely to be arrested for possession.
Like how much? Like twice as likely, 3 times as likely, 4 times, 4 to 1, 5 to 1. Let's see what it is.
This is the truth of the war on drugs in every state, and Illinois is no different. In 2010, a report from the ACLU found that black people made up 15% of Illinois' population, but nearly 60% of its cannabis possession arrests.
So I'm not a math surgeon, so what's 15 times what? It gives you 60. So
4.
4? So that's 4 to 1. So if you're out around there, right? I'm not a math surgeon. Please check my math and correct it for me. So it's just not twice as likely, 3 times as likely. It's 400% racist. The marijuana enforcement. Isn't that crazy? 15% of all pot smokers in Illinois are African American, yet 60% of the incarcerated people are African American for marijuana. What are black people complaining about in this country? I don't understand. What do you mean? We give them everything. You ever hear people say that? They get everything. Yeah, they also get all the prison cells.
You know, I'm looking at midpress.com right now, and they said in 2014, at least 620,000 people were arrested for simple pot possession. That's 1,700 people per day, or more than 1 per minute.
Nice. Well, here we go. He's got some more to say.
Past, our state has spent more money per capita on cannabis possession enforcement than almost every other state. Illinoisans have had enough. They know that what we're doing isn't working. They know that criminalization offers nothing but pain, disruption, and injustice. The legislators and activists standing with me today have heard you. We've heard you on the campaign trail and in our offices.
And in our courts.
In town hall meetings and in our courts.
That's right.
We've heard you say that the time for change has long since passed. Guided by these calls for change, we came together and we did something that no other state in the nation has been able to do.
Declared it National Jimmy Dore Day? Oh. I don't know. Let's see.
Today, Illinois is leading the way in demonstrating everything that can be accomplished when we set aside our comfort with the status quo and instead govern with the belief that our best days are ahead. With this legislation, our state, once again, is a leader, putting forward the most equity-centric cannabis legalization in the nation.
Equity-centric. I'm for cannabis legalization, but only if it's equity-centric. And the most equity, I don't even know what that means. What does that, does anybody here know what that, Beck, you went to college, right?
Yeah.
You graduated, what, cum laude?
Yeah.
I graduated very quietly. And do you know what that means? Equity-centric? What does that mean, equity? So I tell you what I think it means. I think he means that
Fair distribution?
they're going to help the people who need it the most. Equity-centric. The people who've paid the biggest price on the drug war are now going to be reaping the biggest benefit. Maybe that's what he means. I don't know. I went to college, but I'm not a student. Mac, you were a student.
Yes.
Right. And you don't even know what it means, right?
It's
No, just say no.
no.
Okay, here we go. Oh, this is the one they applaud. They applauded equity-centric. I mean, that's how much those people know what it means. All right, here we go. He's got a little bit more to say.
As the first state in the nation to fully legalize adult use cannabis through the
legislature. So we fully legalized adult use cannabis, but it was through the ballot initiative process. So that's what he means when he goes, we're the first state to do it through the legislature. Okay. All right. Pat yourself in the back.
Legislative process, Illinois exemplifies the best of democracy, a bipartisan and deep commitment to better the lives of all of our people. Legalization of adult...
It was almost like he tripped on that last word. He was like, to better the lives of all of our, what do we call them? People. That's what it sounded like. You know, he's a billionaire, right? But all billionaires, that they don't have enough power. They now want to actually have governmental power now, right? See how much, can you look up how much he's worth? What's his net worth, the J.B. Pritzker. Anyway, so there you go. They did it. They did it in Illinois. In Illinois, if they can lead in Illinois, I don't know if they're the 11th, so, but that's still kind of leading.
He's worth $3.4 billion.
$3.4 billion. He's worth $3.4 billion. Wow. So that's not 100 million. That's not 200 million. That's 3,000 million. That's a lot of millions. Mad, oh bad. You think a couple of $100 million. How would you ever spend that? Man, you have $3,000 million. You could buy $1 million house every day for like 3,000 days. What is that? 3,000. How many years is that? About 20 years? Again, I'm not a math surgeon, but that's a lot of money. All I'm saying is he's worth a lot of money. He could buy a new $1 million house every day for the rest of his life. That's for sure. And I will comment on his hair dye. I think he's getting a good hair dye. He might not be dyeing his hair. Look, he's letting it go. He looks like my dad. Everyone thought my dad dyed his hair. He didn't. But my dad had jet black hair and thick. And until he was like 75 years old. But I have to dye the shit out of my hair. And I do it, again, I don't do it for me. I don't have to look at me. I do it for you. You have to stare at me. Okay.
So do you know that 25% of the revenue will be invested in rebuilding
Yes.
the communities? Something to the effect, whose equity is it anyway? It says the law defines a social equity applicant as an Illinois resident that has lived in disproportionately affected neighborhoods for the last 5 years.
That's what I got.
They get automatically given 25 points. Did you get that?
No.
So these people are automatically given 25 points out of the required 200 when it comes to cannabis business licensing process.
Oh,
so I don't know
really?
if that's a part of what
so
you're
so
talking
now
about.
so we've over enforced the drug laws and the marijuana drug law in this community, maybe an African American community. So now when you get to sell it, we're going to allow you to make more money off it or whatever. We're going to help you get a license for it. So that's pretty good.
And I just want to read, this is from Representative Kelly Cassidy. They say, decades of prohibition hasn't stopped use. Prohibition hasn't made us safer. Prohibition hasn't built communities. In fact, it's destroyed them. Prohibition hasn't created jobs. In fact, it has prevented people from finding work. Representative Cassidy, who was part of the crew that drafted the bill, said in a statement, ending prohibition will allow us to bring this out of the shadows, impose reasonable and thoughtful regulation, and bring assurance of a tested and safer product. So they're really moving forward with this in such a progressive way.
This doesn't sound like something to come out of Illinois, but it is.
And I just wanted to read one more fact. This was back to Mint Press. Since Richard Nixon declared the war on drugs in 1971, the cost of the war had soared to over $1 trillion by 2010. Do you know how much they spent annually, according to mintpress.com? Annually, what they've
To fight the war on drugs?
Yes.
Let's say $5 billion.
$51 billion is spent annually to fight the drug war in the United States.
That's enough to send everybody to college just about.
And this is according to drug policy.
We'd rather spend it giving it to cops, giving them dental to put people in prison for nothing.
$51 billion is spent annually. Why do we have people sleeping on the streets?
That's right. You can end homelessness for $20 billion a year, just so you know. Okay, but look, that's a step forward. That's nice. They'll be spending less money incarcerating people for marijuana, and they're actually going to take some money from marijuana and give it back to the people. That's a good idea. So applaud to the billionaire J.B. Pritzker and Illinois. Good job. Hey, we just added St. Louis and Honolulu to our live tour schedule. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our live shows. We might be coming to your town. Go check right now at jimmydorecomedy.com. And if you like the show and want to support it, become a premium member. You can become a patron or through PayPal, or go right to jimmydorecomedy.com and become a premium member. That's the best way. We'll see you at a live show.